Guys, sorry for walking for a minute. I'm going to be doing a couple of videos here very shortly, and in those videos I'm going to be using a lot of stuff with notches and whatnot, a lot of notch work in it. And I know a lot of people knows how to do most notches and seen videos on it and whatnot but I figured it wouldn't be right if I didn't still do a video on the two basic notches first before I did do those videos and at least put my 2 cents into it. So that's what we're going to be going over today, is how to put two different types of notches in a piece of green wood. It's always good to use green wood when you're doing stuff with notches. For one, it's easier to carve and whatnot. A lot of stuff that we're going to be doing, you're going to want to have green wood. Use it anyway. You don't want something that's dry and dead, and might catch fire easy, or it might be rotten. So we're going to go over two basic knots. And, to do that, we're going to be using two different cuts. Okay, and and of course, exercising knife safety. You want to be mindful of where your blade is going at all times. Before you ever make a cut, a slice, a notch, or anything, you want to be considerate of where that blade is going. Most of the knife work, especially when I teach a class, I teach to not move the blade as little as possible. Let everything else move. That blade is still that blade is, the less likely you are to cut yourself. Using a knife that is sharp is safer than the safest thing to do. You want your knife to be as sharp as possible, very serviceable, so it cuts better and you're not forcing. Statistics actually show that the most common hand lacerations and cuts are, on the index finger, in the thumb, and in the palm. And why is that? Because that is where most people mess up. They'll be cutting, not paying attention to where their hand's going. They'll be cutting towards themselves, slipping, cutting into their hand, be digging, punch through. So always be mindful, before you make any cut, be sure you know where that blade's going to go, and is there any part of your body, whether it's, the hands or even up on the knee. You don't want to be cutting and doing work here, you slip or whatnot, and you cut your knee. So always be mindful of that. Take it from somebody who has a reattached finger. This finger here, I've had a piece of shrapnel take that finger off and slice the other two, and it had to reattach that on. It's not fun, so don't cut yourself. But the two notches that we're going to be going over, is going to take two different types of cuts. It's going to be taking there's actually a terminology to the way that you cut and use a knife. The two cuts that we're going to be going over are the stop cut and the push cut. Alright, and the first notch that we're going to be doing is just a basic two-cut notch. Alright, there's nothing fancy to it, pretty down and simple. What we're going to be doing is we're going to decide on a piece of wood where we want the notch at. We want the notch up here, the top of it's going to be up here, the bottom down towards it. Or I'm going to take you back, top up this way, bottom of it towards this way. So that means it's going to slope into the wood and stop up here. You'll see when I do it, but with a stop cut, it's the first cut we're going to make. And all the stop cut is taking the blade, and if we want the notch on this facet of the wood here, take the blade and just push, mindful that we're not going to hold the blade like this and push and rotate into our finger. It's good to use something soft, like I got the stump here, so I can use that. But I'm just going to take and push my blade straight down into the wood. Okay? And pick it up if I have to and rotate it a little bit deeper. You don't have to try to get it all in one shot, but you're just pushing that blade in. And all you're doing is making a cut straight down in there. And there's a reason why it's called a stop cut. Because the next cut we're going to do is a push cut. And it's called a push cut because you're basically taking the blade and just pushing it with your finger. Slight pressure with your hand. Like I said, let your hands, let this guide finger do most of the work. If your knife is sharp enough and you're using green wood, your thumb should be able to do all the work. You really don't have to wrench down and use any pressure with the hand that's holding the knife. What we're going to do is we're going to push at an angle to notch out this piece of wood. We made our stop cut right here. The reason it's called a stop cut is because when we push up with that push cut, the blade's actually going to hit where we cut and stop. And you'll see here as I push up, and it stopped right there. Now, you can push right through that, but you just got to be mindful that you don't, and you don't ruin your notch. then you just go right back down in that stop cut and flip out that piece of wood. And if you want to make it a little deeper, you go a little bit deeper with the stop cut for a second cut, come down, push cut again. And if you have a thicker piece of wood, and sometimes a harder piece of wood, obviously you have to, do it a few times. But this is a pretty thin piece of wood, but you see we got our basic notch there. And like I said, this is basic. When we do the second one, you'll see why that one's a little bit better. This notch here you would really only want to use if you're, holding down cordage on a tarp or something for a shelter, and or if you're using it to reach into a fire to grab onto a pot hook, But for hanging stuff, which is what we're going to be doing today, you're going to want to use a different notch, and that's what we're going to talk about now. But going over the same concept, with this being the top of the notch, this being the bottom, we're going to be making more than 2 cuts. Like I said, that was just 2 cuts, but now we're going to be making 2 stop cuts and then 3 push cuts. All right, and what we're going to be doing first is making a stop cut with X. We're going to make an X out of our stop cuts. Now, when we did this notch, we went straight into the wood. This one here, this is the top of the notch. This one here, we're going to make our first X diagonally across the wood, but we want to slightly give it a little bit of a bend, all right, a slight angle, and you'll see why as we do this notch. But we're almost going to go side to side, from halfway down, halfway through with this first stop cut. Like I said, once again, putting a little bit of an angle, upward angle towards the top of the stake. Our second cut is going to be correctly an X, right across that. Once again, not straight up and down, but slight turn. Being mindful of where my fingers are, I have my hands down here. If I wanted to be extra safe, I could put my hand there, but it'd be a little bit difficult to turn, so I can pick it up just a little bit. And we're going to make that X. Alright, now we have an X in our wood. Once again, this being the top. This portion of the wood we are not going to take off. Remember I said we're going to be doing 3 push cuts. We're going to be doing one on the side, one on the bottom, and another one on the side. And now we can do our first push cut. Once again, letting my fingers do the work. And push the knife up. Just take that, flick that off a little bit, come to the side, push up until I hit that stop cut. Remember, this one's on an angle, it's not straight across. So you actually got to do your push cut at a little bit of an angle. Then come across on the side, pop it up, and that wood will pop out very easy where that stop cut ended. All right. And now you see we have a little bit of V, but we have to go a little bit deeper. So I'm going to come in here, put my stop cut a little bit deeper. And my stop cut a little bit deeper there. Come in from the top once again, or the front of it, so to speak. Try out my wood. Come to the side. Like I said, since I'm using green wood, I'm really not using much pressure. And now what we did was we created a V notch. Okay, once again, this is the top of our stick. Or actually, sorry, I take that back. This is the bottom. All right, and the whole purpose of that is now, like, if we're going to hang a pot with a bail on it, or baling wire, it's going to actually sit down in that notch and be held in there. Remember how I told you when we did our first 2 stop cuts, we turned it at an angle. By turning it at an angle, we left a little bit of an angle in there so it can actually hook onto, I don't have a pot here, but yeah, I got, so it will actually hook in on that handle. So if we were going to use that, hang a pot, it's going to hook in there, whereas this one, it wouldn't. Okay, it would slide right out. Like I said, you can use this one if you're going to lift something, or if you're going to tie down a string. But this one's what you would use if you're actually going to hang a piece of or hang a pot or something from it. So that's why it's important when you do those first two stop cuts, you come in at an angle, because coming in at an angle gives that pot, that handle or that wire, or even string or cordage, whatever, you know, something to hold on to. All right. Now, something to keep in mind. It's broke here. It's just a thin piece of green wood. It's all I was using for demonstration. Now, let's say we were cutting this for a stake. All right. We actually wanted this to be a stake to hammer in the ground. And once again, we'll come in and we'll do our first stop cut, angling up. This once again is the top of the notch. We're going to use this for a tent stake. All right. Angle it a little bit up. Make your first stop cut. Make your second stop cut. Angling it a little up. Find the center here again. First push cut in the front. First push cut in the side. Redo my stop cuts. Now, granted, you know, like I said, I am doing this on a smaller piece of wood. You know, going to be using a larger piece of wood for making stakes or heavy-duty stakes, especially when you're going to hammer in the ground. So just keep that in mind as I do this demonstration. And plus, when the wood's a little larger, you can actually get in there and actually cut a little bit more of the inside, so you have a little bit more of a hook on the inside. So now we got, you know, the notch for our tent peg. This is what we're going to hammer in the ground and tie our cordage on. But the one thing you got to keep in mind, a lot of people will miss, is where you cut the top, what you're going to hammer on, you're going to want to round, just using a push cut, and round that off. If you don't round this top off, when you go to hammer it down, it will split. Alright? So now if you round that off, and you're going to hammer it down with something, you know, it's not going to split on you. And you'll want to do that too if you're using it for pot hooks, because if you've got this just flat out like that and it's hanging, you know, that's going to start splitting on you, especially when it gets a little bit of heat on it from a fire or whatnot. You know, plus it makes it nice and neat and pretty. So those are the two basic notches that we're going to be using in these next upcoming videos. Some of the campcraft works that we're going to be doing. So hope you enjoyed the video, hope you learned something. Get out and practice. Oh, one thing before I do go, if doing notches and working with a knife is new to you, one thing you can do, this is a dry piece of wood because I did it a while ago, but this is what's called, they call them tri-sticks. Alright, basically all you do is you go out and find yourself a green piece of wood like this and just start notching one. And one is going to give you good practice for doing your notches, so you get to know how notches work in different kinds of wood, because certain wood carves different than the other. And the other thing you can do is start making different kinds of carvings. You know, you can carve out and flatten out pieces of wood, drill holes in it, whatnot, do little funky shapes. You know, there's no rhyme and reason other than learning how this knife works in this piece of wood. Every knife works different, so if you have a bunch of knives or you want to take a knife out to the woods and start using it, well, get yourself a piece of wood and practice with it first, so you get to know the capabilities of your knife. Because, you know, I can do things with this knife that are a lot more difficult with other knives. So if I took that more difficult knife out to work with and I didn't put it to the test to see what I could do, and then I expected to get something done in a pinch, obviously I just wasted a lot of time and added some frustration into my situation. So practice beforehand, try out each of your knives to see what the capabilities are. But like I said, these are the notches we're going to be using in the upcoming videos that we'll be putting out. So, Sarge Earthwalker Primitive, thank you.